That sounds like somebody who's free from what other people think she should be doing with her voice, suddenly to what she's doing with her voice. And then there's no stopping her after that. Because I don't think music would really be the same if that one record didn't exist.
Aretha Franklin's I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You is a timeless masterpiece. As her 10th studio album, Aretha returned to her gospel roots for this hot-blooded, soulful record and subsequently changed the course of pop music history.
For me, it's an introduction, it's all answers covered, and it's a way to also see where music went for the next 50 years.
Hi, I'm Chloe from Happy Mag, and this is why I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You mattered. I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You was Aretha Franklin's debut album with Atlantic Records, but the Queen of Soul was actually already 9 albums deep into her career.
They had this unbelievable singer and they didn't really seem to know what to do with her. Then she went to Atlantic and this is the first record she made.
It being like the first sort of popular release that she was really supported in after a bunch of soft jazz kind of records.
And it was almost like a debut because most people had just not paid attention to the earlier record.
The moment that changed Aretha's career and ultimately the world of music around her was when Aretha was brought to Atlantic Records by the legendary music journalist turned producer, Jerry Wexler. Aretha Franklin was only 24 at the time when she walked into Fame Studios, which was the place to make a record in the South. The sound of I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You was miles away from Aretha's previous pop efforts, with much of the album relying on simple single chord vamps and a down tempo.
I mean, when I look at the track listing, it has a lot of very famous songs on it. It has Otis Redding's Respect on it. It has Sam Cooke's Change Is Gonna Come as the closing track. So there's no way it could be a bad record if it only had those 2 songs in it. But the key song is I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, the title song, because it's so unlike anything else, and from what I understand, it almost didn't get made because it was kind of formless until Spooner Oldham started playing this electric piano figure, and then you can hear Aretha is free and she's playing piano, and everything she brought from gospel is in the way she's playing those pickups, and the rest of the band are just great.
Although the themes of I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You revolve heavily around love, Aretha elevated them to a new plane through her artistry. Her dynamic timbre breathes pure feeling and emotion into her lyrics.
And then you look at the way that she handled the songs on the album. There's personal power even in Heartbreak. Drowning My Own Tears is about a kick in the guts. At the same time, it's so catchy. And you could dance to so many of these songs, and the songs you wouldn't dance to, you'd sit and cry to.
Even in a time when second wave feminism had only just begun, in her single Do Right Woman, Do Right Man, Aretha asked us to remember, a woman's only human, you should understand. She's not just a plaything, she's flesh and blood, just like her man.
Well, particularly Do Right, Do Woman, that's like this pleading and almost an education on how to treat a woman.
It wasn't an R&B song that came out of Detroit. It was written by another Southern guy, but it had such a deep soul sort of feeling. It was strange to hear it with a pedal steel guitar, whereas Aretha's version was a challenge to the man. It said, if you expect me to be waiting for you, you've got to give me respect, which is the theme of the record, isn't it? You know, because it opens with the song Respect. And again, that was Otis Redding's song, a woman singing it. It's much more powerful. In the mid-60s, for Aretha to be singing that, I mean, it was like startling, you know.
Aretha Franklin's legend was born from this album, but there's one single that really cemented her mythical status. I am of course talking about Respect. Respect was originally recorded by Otis Redding just 2 years before it fatefully fell into the hands of Aretha Franklin.
But a black woman is not just asking for respect from the culture, she's also asking for respect from the men in her life. You know, you want respect, well, treat me with respect.
Aretha turned Respect into one of those rare songs that add up to more than the sum of its parts. It's not just that she sounds incredible, she birthed a legacy through this track.
It shifted the debate, I think, in America by bringing in these ideas into the living rooms of people who would have been aware of black black music for a start.
Aretha singing Sam Cooke's song, they're near contemporaries as well. And Sam was gone by then. Sam had died, had been killed. So that must have been tremendously emotional for her to sing that. Not to mention what that song represents in time, It's one of the great songs, and that's the other great version of it. If there were only two, that you would only, as other people have sung it, but there only really needs to be Sam Cooke and Aretha Franklin singing that song for it to be indelible. And I'm so grateful,
The influences respect had on individuals as well as entire social movements are almost unequaled in the history of pop. It doesn't go without saying that this monster hit also earned Aretha Franklin 2 Grammys.
As a songwriter, I really learned how to write in 3/4 and 6/8 from listening to this record, because a lot of the record is in 3 or 6.
With I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You under Aretha's belt, she never looked back. The Queen of Soul was here to stay, and beyond this seminal record, Aretha Franklin went on to release a mammoth 38 studio albums in total. Incredibly, Aretha scored 73 entries on the Billboard Hot 100, which was the most entries among women for almost 40 years. Even after her ongoing success, it was this album that proved to everyone, herself included, that the real Aretha Franklin was what the world wanted.
I mean, what more could you want in an album than power and passion and dancing and crying? It's just like your 4 basic food groups of music there.
She was a 25-year-old woman of color at the time when she recorded that album. So, that alone, she'll forever be an icon, a cultural icon.
I met her once at an award show, and I was so startled to meet her that I just instinctively dropped to my knees and kissed her hand, because she's the queen,
And that's why I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You mattered, and still does to this day.